Videos show Ukrainian drones pummeling Russian trenches with their bombs. The footage shows a number of Ukrainian drones dropping bombs into Russian trenches, foxholes, and dugouts. This is the terrifying moment. A Ukrainian tank fired on a Russian trench from point-blank range. Before soldiers moved in to finish the job, the battle took place south of the town of Ivanish, that lies to the west of besieged city Bakhmut, which has been the focus of the war's bloodiest fighting since Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered the invasion of Ukraine last year. Brutal fighting for the city and the surrounding region has seen the return of trench warfare to Europe, in scenes reminiscent of the First and Second World Wars, in the footage captured from a distance and released by Ukraine's 5 Separate Assault Brigade. A Ukrainian tank is seen rolling down a road through a barren field left scarred by battle, stalking its targets. A long zigzag trench is seen running parallel to the road like a scar on the land, with Russian soldiers sheltering inside with no weapons to counter the heavy armor. Russian forces and Wagner's group have for almost a year now tried and so far failed to take the town of Bakhmut in the Donbas region of eastern Ukraine. But they managed to advance north and south of Bakhmut, while capturing the eastern outskirts and parts of the city center. If the Ukrainians removed the Bakhmut and managed to get out of the city, their retreat could be considered one of the more successful combat retreats in modern military history. Overall, tens of thousands of Russians potentially died in the long Battle of Bakhmut. For Ukraine, the city has become an opportunity to erode Russia's combat power and create favorable conditions for the long-planned Ukrainian counteroffensive. A dramatic video footage shows Ukrainian armed forces in occupied Klishchivka destroying the Russian invaders' artillery installations and 120mm 2S9, known as self-propelled mortar. This was reported live by the Telegram channel Operational ZSU, which published a corresponding video. Miss explosion was so strong that it was certain that her own ammunition immediately exploded upon impact and completely destroyed the car. Ukrainian forces have also reported today, with reference to the General Staff, about the destruction of a Russian Su-25 fighter jet in the Mariinka region. Later, the command of the airborne forces established that the soldiers of the air defense units of one of the airborne units distinguished themselves. A video has been released showing the plane taking off, exploding on the ground, and the pilot landing with a parachute. At the same time, it is unclear what exactly hit the plane. Ukrainian military expert Oleksandr Muzhenko said Russian troops were exhausted and unable to maintain the same pace of attack as they launched in February. It is now clear that the Russian army's ability to attack has stalled, and for all their audacity to take over Bakhmut, it's not right, he said in the video comments. Meanwhile, Russian military forces and Wagner mercenaries may have joined forces with airborne troops, the UK Defense Ministry said in a post on Twitter, adding that the main supply route for Ukraine west of Bakhmut is likely to be seriously threatened. On Thursday, the Washington-based think tank Institute for the Study of War said Russian troops had resumed ground attacks on the city, making small advances in the center of Bakhmut. On Friday, the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces said Russia continues to focus on offensive operations in Bakhmut. The battle for Bakhmut continues, Andriy Yermak, head of the office of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, said Thursday. They roamed the streets. The enemy's attempt to besiege the city failed, he wrote, repeating Zelensky's earlier label of the city as a fortress. But earlier this week, Zelensky suggested he could order a troop withdrawal if Ukrainian troops were surrounded by Moscow fighters. Russian conventional troops have been fighting alongside mercenaries in Bakhmut, with the paramilitary Wagner Group taking a key role in operations in and around the town. But the rift between the Russian military and mercenaries has been well documented and a matter of public concern. The head of the Wagner Group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, previously accused the Russian Ministry of Defense and military commanders of treason and trying to destroy the mercenary group. On Tuesday, Britain's defense ministry said Russia was possibly seeking to sponsor and develop an alternative mercenary group to replace the Wagner Group's combat role in Ukraine. However, no other Russian private military company is currently approaching Wagner's size or combat power, the ministry added. Recently, missile and artillery units of the Ukrainian armed forces in the Kherson direction destroyed a 152mm self-propelled artillery installation, Mestet-S, a BM-21 Grad salvo rocket system, and 2 Russian invaders' vehicles. The General Staff of Ukraine said the Russian military continues to target the country's industrial east, with a focus on the cities of Lyman, Bakhmut, Avdiivka, and Mariinka in the Donetsk region. Over the last 24 hours, the enemy launched 2 missiles and 35 airstrikes, carried out more than 40 attacks from rocket launch systems, the military said. The Ukrainian military also said Russian occupation forces in the Zaporizhzhia and Kherson regions were preparing for what Kyiv described as an evacuation of civilians to Russian-occupied Crimea. Most of Friday's battle reports concerned 4 Ukrainian provinces that Russia annexed in September: Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhzhia, and Kherson. On the other hand, Ukraine is expected to launch a counteroffensive soon to reclaim land in the south and east of the country from Russian troops. The Ukrainian Air Force also carried out 9 raids on the Russian temporary base. The country's rocket and artillery forces attacked 1 control post and 2 Russian makeshift bases and destroyed an ammunition depot.